So you want to grow your podcast and you just can't figure out why people are passing you by. Here's the thing. Your show name and that beautiful cover image are your book cover. Have you ever gone to a bookstore and bought a book by its cover or the title? I know I have. The title brings me in when I see the edge of the book in there, and the cover makes me say yes. So you might be missing the mark with these two things. Here's what just happened and why this topic is near and dear to my heart, and why this can be your cure for pod fade so that listeners actually show up, so you get that little ego boost as your downloads improve. And then you know what happens? You start making connections, and those connections turn into money in your bank account. Not that we're all here just for the money, but it is an important part of podcasting if you want to monetize, which I know that's why you're here. So are you ready? Let's go. Okay. So why this just came up is I have been doing some research because I've been wanting to do podcast swaps, whether that is we show up on each other's shows or an actual like commercial implant into my episode about a different podcast. They're swaps. I call them podcast shout outs. These are great ways to get in front of an audience that is full of your people, and you find the right people that are semi-aligned with your audience. Maybe you're not doing the same thing, but for me, if I went on an entrepreneurship podcast, that would be very helpful because I'm niche focused to podcasting. Whereas if they came into mine from the entrepreneurship podcast into my niche, they may be focused on different parts of business growth other than podcasts. So it makes a perfect swap. I also know that many of you are people that want financial freedom. So money podcast swap. So start thinking outside of your box when you look for niches to pitch for either podcast swaps or podcast promo swaps. That being said, I just went to go look. So I look on a bunch of different databases to find people that are wanting to swap, who are around the same size podcast as I have, in a similar niche, or at least have a similar audience that has the same needs, where we're not stepping on each other's toes. Here's what really just made me irritated. I've been doing it for about an hour now, and I only found one podcast that I wanted to reach out to. Here's the thing. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of podcasts in there, but their cover and their actual show name didn't make me click into their profile to see if we were a good match, because they didn't make sense to me. I know we want to be cutesy. I know you're looking at me and rolling your eyes and being like, Jen, talk about cutesy. Cure for pod fade? Really? I know. It's not great. I'm in the field. I'm in the industry. I want to see how much it actually affects, and it does really affect it. That's why there's a tagline behind it. So as I'm going through these databases, I'm seeing things like the Jennifer Dragonette Show or Coffee Chats with Jen. And I'm like, what is this going to serve for a podcast swap? So as all these people are in there hoping for all these podcast swaps, unless you're doing a deep dive by clicking and opening up each one of those things and reading the description and reading about their audience, I'm going to just pass on by. We are all busy business owners. We need more information to take action. And this doesn't just go for swaps. This is what your listeners are doing too. This is why it is so important for those show titles, your podcast image, and your episode titles to be something that makes somebody say yes to click. We all want to be cute. We all do. I'd love to have a podcast title that's get your head out of your ass and start podcasting the right way. Nobody's going to search that. Somebody that's already in my audience may want to listen to that. But if you're not actually putting in terms that people can understand, you're going to get passed up. So if you're in these podcast matching sites and all of this. I love Podmatch. Shout out to Podmatch. I'll put all their information in there. Alex is absolutely amazing. He truly is one of the people in the world that is creating products that are helping podcasters, not pod fade, and they are so affordable that if you're not using these tools, you are totally missing out. He's got Podmatch, Pod Lottery, there's Pod SOP, which is amazing. Like, I love all these things. Links are in the show notes. I'm not an affiliate for him. Just freaking love the man. He's great. He's amazing. And his softwares are amazing. He's truly making it easier for the independent podcaster to be successful and not to fade away. But back to this thing about titles. So going through Tink, I'm looking at these titles. Let me click over right now if you're watching the video. And I'm like, I'm not shaming any of these podcasts. I just don't understand them. Sharing my truth. Okay, you want to do a podcast swap, but what is sharing my truth all about? Sincerely Her podcast? I don't know. Is that somebody that's going to be helpful to me? I mean, they do have tags like business education, but here, the Sincerely Her podcast, shout out to you guys. Way to go. You have great downloads. You want to do all these other things. You're in education, business, health, and fitness. But I really have to dig to see if this would be a good swap. And again, I am not throwing shade. Way to go. Way to put yourself out there. I'm just saying that we need to start thinking about like what we're doing and how we're showing up. Let's see. There's just so many in here. Story pillar. I don't understand. Style matters. Sunday fun day. Taboo science. Systematic. Table 5. I love that you guys are podcasting, but if you could put a tagline in there while I'm looking through these different possibilities so that we can swap, we can help our shows grow, that we can actually make that connection. Again, I keep bringing this up, and this has been on the podcast before with the show names, the titles of your episodes and your graphic, because this is what people see when they come to your podcast. Those are the few things in podcast players that are searchable. When you're putting your show into these databases, some of them have your graphics, some of them don't have your graphics, some of them allow you to expand. But I don't know without a lot of time and research, and most of us don't have a lot of time and research time to be able to go look for these. Yes, networking is a great way to build and to grow. I love promo swaps. I love podcast swapping. I think that they are critical to making your podcast successful and to getting to that next level that you desire. But the problem is if you don't make that front end, that book cover for your podcast interesting and matter of fact, to the point enough to actually get somebody to click because they know that they're interested, you may be losing and leaving a lot of listeners that could really value from your information, your story, your stuff on the table. It's just like my book, Your Story is Someone's Life Raft. There's a tagline on it, who it's for, and how it's going to help you build your business through stories. This is what I want you to start thinking about when you name your podcast. Again, if you want to be found, you got to make it easy for you to be found, and you have to make it a no-brainer for someone to click. I love cutesy. I am creative. Use your creativity inside your episodes, in your voice, in the way that you deliver the stories. Get creative there, but put on that more strategic cap when you are giving yourself a tagline for your show. Creating that graphic can be cute, can be great, can be creative, but make it matter of fact so I click the dang thing. And the same with your episode titles. Make it cutesy, but put a couple keywords in there that I know that that's what I want to listen to. So I'm going to step off my soapbox because I don't want to bore you again. I know you don't have a lot of time, but you're here because you want to grow your show. There is one of the places that you are leaving listeners on the table in the background going to someone else. You're leaving possible promo swaps on the table. They're going somewhere else because you are not giving the person enough information. And if we have to spend a lot of time researching, most people aren't going to do it. And I want you to be found. I want you to be successful, and I want you to grow. And I sure don't want you to pod fade away. So if you have any questions and you want to kind of reevaluate this, grab one of my free 30-minute podcast CPRs. This is really a 30-minute coaching session with me. I use these. What do I get out of it? You're like, it's free. I know I'm going to get pitched. You're not going to get pitched. I use these as market research. So I am helping you fix, tweak, make your show better. And in turn, I'm getting market research. So that's what I get out of it. That's why it's not a sales call, because it is a you scratch my back, I scratch your back. We make this work together. If you want more than that, then we talk about the whole salesy thing. But they are really just 30 minutes of my time in your show because it helps me and it helps you. And we like to help each other out. So podcastcpr.com, and yeah, go do the thing. Start thinking about it. Start noodling it around a little bit. Go out, make today amazing, because you are wonderful, you are worthy, and your voice deserves the microphone, and you need to create that tsunami already. Stop being a ripple, bust out that tsunami, and I will see you soon.